So, reporting on climate change is a relatively new phenomenon for most media, even though it's been going on since the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, right? It's only really come into the public fore since we started having all these warnings about, the worldwide temperature rising, and if we cross this 1.5 degree threshold, then basically all hell's going to break loose, and probably we're going to be there pretty soon. So, what we've seen is a focus on coverage of events that we haven't really thought about in the past. And Florida, in particular, is ground zero for climate change, right? You look at just the sea level rise itself. You go down to Miami now, they have king tide flooding, they have sunny day flooding. That's what it is. Every time there's a high tide with a full moon out, you're going to have flooding, even when there's no storms out. And some of the more dire predictions have parts of South Florida and the Keys in particular underwater by the end of the century. I think the bottom line here is that when we have rising seas, when we have extreme weather events, hot weather emergencies like we're going to have, this directly affects people. Just going back to the example of living on the beach, people are going to have their houses raised up. New homes are not going to be, you're not going to be allowed to build on ground level. They're all going to have to be raised, and you have your carport on the ground floor. The resiliency projects are basically right now are focusing on things like raising sidewalks, um, having electrical infrastructure raised off of the ground where they won't be inundated next time a hurricane comes in. I think we're getting to the point where people realize that we're all in it together. Rising tide is not going to lift all boats. Some of us may get sunk, right? So I think it's coming to the point where government is going to have to work hand in hand with the private sector to take action here. Just an example, something as vital to our state's economy as home ownership is being affected by climate change. The property insurance is going through the roof, literally. And part of the reason is because of these mega hurricanes coming through that are offshore, and 24 hours before they hit, they suddenly become a category 5 storm because the Gulf of Mexico is so much warmer than it used to be. That is, I mean, people are going to start realizing if we're going to start tackling things like property insurance, things that directly affect people, we all have to take action. I think the key is educating people, right? What the CAC is doing is vital to getting the word out. There's so much misinformation out there online. It's become politicized. Climate change has become politicized. It's one of those things that shouldn't be, but like everything else in this world, one side says this and the other side opposes it. So we have to take this out of the hands of the political rhetoric, out of the hands of misinformation, and that's where like your database that you have with climate information comes in. It's going to be vital to have one source or several sources that are reliable that people can actually put their trust in and not believe the last social media posting or whatever. So it's like I said, it's going to take us all coming together and focusing in on the resources that you can actually trust. And that's one of the things that the Climate Adaptation Center is working on that we support.